Morning all, welcome back to the channel on this glorious, sunny Good Friday. Good Friday is supposed to be a bank holiday, but guess what? It's an ideal opportunity to get some more work done on Project Tom. So let's get stuck in.
It's Good Friday here in sunny South Wales and we're in work, enjoying the sunshine, enjoying a picnic and getting on with some filming.
So rear subframe is out, we've got it set up on some trestles here now. This subframe itself is in very good condition actually, it doesn't look like it's that old if I'm honest. It's clearly been painted before it's been put in. All the usual suspect areas, so these top webs here, all very, very good. So this subframe is spot on. We'll end up giving this a good wire brushing and a good couple of coats of chassis black before this goes back in again to prolong its life. But in today's video, we're going to get on with stripping this subframe now as an assembly. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this is go about getting the radius arms off. This procedure realistically is the procedure that we would use even if the subframe is in the car. So I'll get some bits and pieces together and we'll crack on with that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, some releasing fluid. Literally we're just going to put this everywhere we're likely to have to disconnect. That's all soaked up, all the fittings that hopefully we need to remove. First thing I am going to remove on this is the brake pipes and the handbrake cable. I've fallen foul of this no end of times. In this instance I'm just going to cut this cable because we are going to replace it anyway, it is frayed. I'm just going to chop that and then we're going to get on with disconnecting the brake pipes, get those out of the way before we get the radius arm out itself. Those quickly out of the way. We're now going to get on with starting to remove these solid brake pipes. As I've said before, a good quality flare nut spanner is really a must when you're working on these. We are not overly bothered about these in this instance as we won't be reusing them. We'll be remaking our own copper pipes. Drop a comment down below actually on whether you would like us to do a video on actually making the brake pipes. Something that I learned at a very young age really. Yes, you can buy the brake pipes already done if you haven't got the kit. But some people do like to know how to do these things if they want to get the kit. So just drop us a comment down below if you think that would be a worthwhile video. If you do, more than happy to do one of those as we have to make some for this anyway. That's those undone. We now need to undo the other end of these copper pipes, which is just up under there. Well, there we go, there's the one off. You probably see the reason that we're remaking them. Really shouldn't be that shape. And there we go. That's that one out as well. As I say, we'll remake those and we'll make them a little bit neater than that. That's fine. As I have that spanner in my hand, I'm now going to undo the brake pipes going down to the rear cylinder, just to get those out of the way. And again, very similar to the subframe removal video, this is coming apart very, very easily, which again makes me think that this hasn't actually long been put together. Those brake pipes themselves are actually in very good order. These are pre-made by the looks of it. They've got some marking tags on them, so these are pre-made. They're actually in very good order. I'm highly likely to reuse those to the rear cylinders, so we'll give those a little rub down and a coat of paint before we fit those, but that certainly can be reused. So the next brake pipe we need to undo is the flexi that comes through the subframe. These can sometimes be a bit of a battle, mainly because of access, but also because people tend not to put them together with any anti-seize. You will see when we come to rebuild this, we have always use copious amounts of anti-seize copper grease. Our ethos when we're doing anything is we always work on it as if we're going to have to take it apart. That can go out of the way. We're going to undo these two large 3/4 nuts, and then we'll take the rear subframe bracket off. Okay, so first one is the inside one here. Loose. And again, that's something we see all the time. These nuts themselves are quite difficult to get access to with everything else in the way, and people don't torque them. So we get the nut and the spring washer off there. I'll just grab a deep socket and we'll do the same with the other nut the other end. This one now exactly the same. And that is now doing the usual, and all of that rod is turning through that shaft, which is good in one way, but what that means is we need to put this nut back on because it works in the opposite direction. So if we pop that nut and spring washer back on, so we'll nip that one back up. Try and crack this one back off. Just like that. And then before you go too far, come back to this one. There we go. There's both of those now undone. So now you can take them off completely. The next fixings we need to undo are these holding this subframe outer bracket on for the radius arm. So we'll just get a screwdriver and poke around in there, get rid of some of the mud, muck and everything else in there, so we can get a socket on there. Good practice to get in and amongst these whenever you're servicing your car and greasing up these radius arms. Get in and keep these clear, and a little wipe over the top if you want to with a bit of grease or something like that will pay dividends when and if you need to come to take these out. And again, as you can probably see, not tight. Everything we seem to be coming at with this is not tight. So that's out of there, that's absolutely fine. Okay. Make sure your socket's fully home. A little bit tight to that one, but still not what I would call tight. And that's the inner two out. Now we have to undo the two that are underneath. And bearing in mind now that when you do these, there's nothing really holding that radius arm in there. So take these out. And this radius arm is actually quite heavy for a small little assembly. And again, that's come out no problem. And so does that one. So you need to support the radius arm now a little bit. So if you were working under the car now, this makes it a little bit more awkward, but an axle stand or something under the radius arm will always help. That's that one. So this is the subframe bracket, and that will now slide off out of the way. We need to keep that because that needs to be kept with the subframe. And hopefully now the radius arm will come out. And that's it, out of the way. I am just going to do exactly the same on the other side, so we can get those both off the car, or off the subframe should I say, and then we'll get on with stripping one of these in its entirety. Right, so that's our radius arm assemblies now off the subframe. I am going to carry on now and take these mounting trunnions off all four corners. I'm going to get the cones out, I'm going to take the exhaust mountings off, and we're just basically going to strip this down now to a completely bare subframe, ready for us to wire brush it, clean it, paint it. So that's what I'm going to get on and do now, and then we'll crack on with the radius arms and the brake assemblies. Right, so we're now over on the bench. We've got our radius arms here. I've just taken all the bits and pieces off the rear subframe trunnions. These are the bushes that we had on there, poly bushes. I'm not a massive fan of these, especially on the rear subframe. Sometimes they can make things a little bit too stiff, but we won't be reusing those anyway, so they're going to go in the bin. We've also got the cones out. Again, we're going to be building this up with new cones, high-lows, and obviously new knuckles. And as you can see, knuckle joint rubbers on this completely deteriorated. There is grease still in the knuckle joint, which is good, but again, we won't be reusing those. Radius arm dust seals, again, broken. They obviously come with a new radius arm kit, so again, they're going to be being replaced. What I'm just going to do now is I'm going to take this brake pipe off out of the way, and then I'm going to take the handbrake cable out of its quadrant, which is just a screwdriver, lever it out and get that out of the way. And then I will show you what we're going to do with this rear brake assembly. We will probably reuse those, in all honesty. They are Goodrich hoses. Again, they don't look very old, so we'll clean those up and make sure that they're all fine, and we'll reuse those. If they were rubber brake hoses, they would be replaced as a matter of course. So with these, you need to just spread the quadrant apart where it's being crimped over to hold the cable in place. They are quite thick, in all honesty, and quite resilient. And they do take a fair bit of bending sometimes as well. Don't go mad with it, you just need to tease it out enough to get the cable out. Just like so. That's the cable out. Just get rid of that. As we are on the cable side of things, I'm now going to remove the remnants of the cable, which is this bit, and that handbrake lever, hopefully. That looks as if it's pretty seized up in there, but we'll see what we can come up with. I'll squeeze the legs of the split pin together first, just work that out. Trying to be careful, ow, not to break the split pin off in there. And then that pin needs to come out of that holder. Hopefully. We can just work that out. It's turning in there, which is a bonus. There we go. That's rubbish. That clevis pin is absolutely fine, so we can reuse that. And there we go. That's our cables, pipes, and our radius arm pin out, but that's by the by. So we're now going to move on to stripping down these rear brakes, I think. This is the brake adjuster. This is highly likely to be seized, although we have been very lucky with this car so far. Everything appears to be either not tight or it hasn't gone together that long ago. So I'm going to pop this in the vise and hold it kind of roughly how you would see it if you were working on the car, if I can, so you can see how things go together. Okay, so there we go. That is basically, if you were working on it on the car, that is as it would be presented to you. So we'll do this now as if we were working on the car. As you can hear, we need to have a look at what's going on in there. So first thing we need to do is take these drum screws out. There's only one in here, normally only one on the rear on the later ones. Take that drum screw out, and then I'm also going to put some more releasing agent on this adjuster, give us a little bit more of a fighting chance, and then we'll see how we go. Okay, the eagle-eyed of you might notice a glove change. That's because I had to go to the other workshop and get another essential tool that you need, a brake adjusting spanner. If you have a classic Mini and you do any form of maintenance whatsoever yourself, you need one of these. They're as cheap as chips, but they're worth their weight in gold. They're basically a square cut spanner, normally 2 different sizes on them. Yeah, you've got 1/4 and 5/16 on this one. The square cut is to match the square on the adjuster. Means that you're contacting on all 4 rather than just 2 as you would with an open-ended spanner. So what we need to do in this instance is we need to unwind this adjuster towards the inside of the car, which basically pushes or allows the wedges to come back in, which should give us some freedom on this drum. And again, luckily, these adjusters are turning nice and easily. These are something that it is imperative that when you assemble them, you use plenty of copper grease. So we wind that all the way out. It won't come all the way out because obviously you've got this retaining bar, and you can normally see that when it's out as far as it comes, that retaining bar starts to push out. That's enough. You don't need to go any further than that. And actually turn out with my fingers as well, which is a great result. So that's really good. That's how we would like them. That won't come off there, so you're going to need to give that a tap. So with this, copper hammer, dead blow hammer, something like that, or a normal hammer if you've got one, just be very careful. These are cast iron, they will break. Bit of a tap, all the way around. Hopefully we can work that off. And perhaps if Kirsty can get in there, you will see already that that one brake shoe is not in the correct position. So it could be that we've got a spring adrift or something in here. We've got plenty of corrosion. And what we've got is another very, very common issue. If you can just get in there, the brake springs are on the wrong side of the shoe. Those springs should be behind the shoe to hold the shoes back. They're in front of the shoe, pulling the shoes forward. What you will also notice is that the brake shoes are fitted in the incorrect orientation. This one is correct with the leading edge facing forward. This one should have the leading edge on the bottom. So again, shoes fitted incorrectly, brake springs fitted incorrectly, and I will just have a little look to see if the bottom one, and the bottom one is exactly the same. So if I just try and pull those off there without taking the springs off, if I can. So that is as we've removed them. So the bottom spring is not only on the wrong face of the shoes, it's actually upside down. That bar should be at the bottom. If it's at the top, it runs the risk, and you might just be able to see that, the shiny area, it rubs against the hub. And I have seen those rub through and break completely. So again, aptly named Project Tom. It's not unusual. It's again something we see all the time. Handbrake lever is nice and free, so no issue with that. That'll get a good clean up and we can reuse that. They rarely go wrong. They do sometimes seize. Rear wheel bearings are tad noisy, but there is no play in it whatsoever. So that might well be okay. We'll strip those and probably clean them up, re-grease them, see what they like, check them for condition. I'm just going to take this out of the vise now because I want to have a look at what this wheel cylinder is like. So I'll do that when I flip it over so you guys can see what's going on there. Okay, so this is our wheel cylinder, quite loose on there. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take the bleed nipple out of there and get the circlip off there. Nope, didn't snap. And we'll take that out of there. We'll just get that circlip off there. I'm not worried about damaging the circlip in this instance because again, this is going to have all new. Hopefully now we can get that out there. Okay, so there's our cylinder. Good to see that the gasket is fitted. We get loads of these in and the gaskets are not fitted. But that cylinder is absolutely seized solid. Completely seized solid. There's the reason for our no rear brakes. So good job this is all coming apart. I'm now going to carry on and get the back plate off this because again we're going to give these a good strip, clean and going over. Once I've done that, we'll have a bit more of a look at this radius arm pin and see what we're up against there. Just a little point to note, we'll cover it in more detail when we come to reassembling all of this and when we come to do torquing, etc. These rear hub nuts are opposite threads. That being said, this one is our driver's side rear radius arm. So the wheel turns this way. These threads are designed to follow the rotation of the wheel. So this one on the right hand side of the car is a conventional thread. So as in it tightens clockwise and does anti-clockwise. The passenger side one is exactly opposite. So what that means is as that wheel is turning on the passenger side, it is still trying to keep tension on that nut. It doesn't turn and it's not dragging that nut around with it, but it's going with the general rotation of the wheel. That's not to say when you're reversing your car, your wheel bearings are going to come undone. It doesn't work like that. But just a point to note, they are opposite threads. Another note with this one, where I said before the wheel bearing was slightly noisy, we'll strip it and re-grease it. We won't be. This is not a tapered roller bearing. This is a standard early type, as I call it, sealed unit. So to be on the safe side, I am going to replace that bearing. So these are the brake adjusting wedges that we spoke about. So we're now going to take these all the way out because we're stripping this assembly in its entirety. So just wind that back in a touch until I can get my finger in there. So that is our brake adjusting wedge, which again are in very good order. Normally if these are heavily worn, you get a real sort of trough right down the middle of there. Wedged adjuster, the threaded adjuster itself is running up and down. These are not too bad in all honesty, and they will go again, no problem at all with that. Wherever possible, it is nice to reuse the original stuff if it's in good order. Again, as always, for all of our parts, 99% of our parts we buy from Mini Spares. Their rear brake adjusters are of excellent quality, never had an issue with them. Okay, so this adjuster has a wedge shape, conical shape, and you can see it has flats on it. Those flats are what those wedges sit against. So as you turn that around, that drives the wedge out. Thread drives in, wedge drives out, gives you your rear brake adjustment. If you get a, as I call it, cheapo nasty brake adjuster, that, I've seen them, they're perfectly round. Which you might think, oh well that's good, because I've got infinite adjustment. Yeah, no, it's a terrible thing. A, because it means there is no flat to flat surface for you to reference, and obviously if that's a flat to flat surface, that cannot move because it cannot drive against flat to flat, it won't come undone. So it's almost like a self-locking mechanism as well. If that is completely round, they can just wind out or in. So be aware of those, but as I say, these are in fine fettle, these will go with a clean up, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so we're at the point now where we're going to take this drum off here. Same, this is the other side. I put it in the same orientation as if it would be on the car. I'm just interested to see whether these shoes are assembled the same way. You'll be surprised how many times you see one side different to the other. Exactly the same. So again, shoes, leading edge correct, incorrect, and springs on the wrong side of the shoe again. So at least they're consistently bad. So opportune moment now to show you what I meant with the opposite thread. So this is now the passenger side radius arm. So this nut now retaining the wheel bearing, the hub nut so to speak, actually tightens in an anti-clockwise fashion. Same rotation as the wheel. You'll see wheel bearing's okay on this one as well. No noises. But now as I want to undo this one, I need to, what would be in the usual sense, do it up. So this one undoes in a clockwise fashion. Like so. This only applies to the rear hubs, not the front hubs. I've seen no end of people say on the forums they can't undo their front hub nuts and this, that and the other. And people saying, oh yeah, you've got to do it, it's anti-clockwise thread, it's opposite thread, etc. No, I've never seen a front CV joint with an anti-clockwise thread on a Mini. And that is the same. That's a roller, non-taper wheel bearing in there. For purposes of this build, I am probably going to replace both of them with taper roller bearings.
Not so sunny South Wales now. I think it's time to go home.
So there we go. That is our rear subframe fully stripped, our rear radius arms fully stripped, rear brakes fully stripped, everything down to its bare components really. We are now going to have a clean up, and once we've done that, I think we'll probably call it a day here for now. We've done a good amount of getting into the strip down procedure for this. The next video now, we'll probably do a shortish video, the next one, where we will take care of rebushing, repinning these radius arms, and we'll also have a look at the other one that I said there was something a little bit not quite right with that one, and I'll show you what we found on that one. So in the meantime, please give us a like and subscribe, follow the channel, have a look at our other videos. As always, really appreciate your support. If there is anything you would particularly like to see during this rebuild, please let us know. We're just going at this, doing what we know needs to be done. But as I say, if there's anything you'd like to see, please let us know. In the meantime, have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks very much.